and what I use the database for is probably also slightly different. But I do maintain it as an academic work plan for staff. So for example, if I have a line manager that's meeting with a member of staff, and this line manager says, can I have a copy of that member of staff's work planning? Very easy, I just go to my spreadsheet, modify a few sort things, cancel the rest, print it out, there you go. In answer to that question about, I'm on it at least once a day, every day, for something or another. Sometimes I need to provide information, sometimes I need to pull up certain things to do something else, but I'm always on it at some point in time.
The only time I'm on it, there were clearly peaks throughout the year.
So
there's peaks from, I don't know, used to be from March to around about June, then it settles down a little bit, and then you have another rush when you know exactly how many students you have. And then once you know how many students you have, and then you finalise things, and then really you don't touch it unless you have some staff leaving or some other issues, some sickness, until the following.
Except it to either do this or take over that, or to be pulled off this to do that, because it's income. And therefore, for example, let's say UK Sport has got this project, comes in, it pays 30 grand, and we need students on that, we need a staff to lead that, another staff to support, and the boss will say to me, right, who can do this? What can we do to shift them around? How much is it going to cost? How does that balance up against our AL budget? So I kind of do.
But we don't have that. I don't have the information about what money. I'm not a budget holder, so I held somewhere else that information higher up. And I feel I'm committing resource when I academically work plan, and yet, and I've worked as a principal investigator on a lot of big projects where I know that I'm going to put these researchers on this function, and this is how much of their time and how much is, we've bid for and won in terms of funding, and a bit like that. So I've done.
Well, the work planners would give us that information, and suddenly we end up doing something that was over and above.
Let's make staff more efficient.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, I mean, I can't complain because I know I applied for this role, and it is slightly different to a certain extent. But I do feel for my colleagues who started at one place and now are sitting in a slightly different place, but somehow that's kind of, somebody's kind of pushed your little buggy down that path without you even knowing.
But your role sounds fantastic, and sounds the sort of role we all need in our departments in this changing climate.
Where we are trying to bring in bits of income,
exactly.
and we are trying to keep aware of costings on course delivery.
So can I just ask something, Ben? When you're saying that you feel the system's been hijacked for a different purpose, is that about resource planning and costings?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I came into this job knowing what I'm supposed to do for my head of department. Whereas speak to Jackie and speak to Leslie and Paula, for example, you've been doing it much longer than I have. I think you started out with something, but it kind of ended up being something else because of the management systems and the management information that they need up top. But there's nobody else to give them that, so therefore the next best tier of people to give them that would be the work planner. So in other words, the evolution of your job has evolved kind of in a subconscious subterfuge way, if I might use the word subterfuge.
I think it's true. I mean, I know when I've been asked to do it, and I'm asked to give that costing model, and I do hold the budget, and so that is my job. I just refuse to use the AWP to do it. So I'm kind of saying, I can give you the costings, but it's a big job for me to do. Give me 3 weeks. And they say, no, go get it off the AWP, and it'll take you 5 minutes. Well, no, I'm not. That's the difference, I think, is that I refuse to use the tool that which I don't think is accurate enough. It's not that I don't think I should, that's my job to manage the budget, because it is.
Which is why I think I put down
it needs to do. Then as the person that's managing that resource, whether it's through AWP or what, there should be an ability to be able to go, my resource is full. And I actually can't do that anymore. But we can't. We just get told, find someone. So someone else will come along and say, and this has happened, and say, well, we need to have consistency. So where we used to give 0.2 whole time equivalent for that particular role, we're now going to give 0.1. It's not actually any less time. It just means that the beans are counted in a different way, and it now all fits in, and you can now take on another
we've
job.
Just had the hours for dissertations reduced substantially. dissertations the same way. It takes the same amount of time to mark it. It's the same number of dissertation meetings, but you have the resource now to mark it.
Oh, so it's standardised across. Yeah, it's equitable now because currently now we're doing what lots of
now you're going to be as stressed as the people
done.
who were doing it like that in the first place.
But that's why these meetings are always useful to find out.
It's quite fun.
And I'm sure if you speak to every work plan in university, every department or subject group does everything differently. You know, for example, I don't mind saying this, we allocate contact and non-contact to marking. I know Susan goes, but we do that because that was what I inherited, and I also have been told that if we allocate all the time to non-contact or TRD,
with stress as to whether your academic work planning has been successful that year. Is that what it boils down to? If you've been successful,
I think there is an element to that. When I've completed AWP with somebody, with my members of staff that I do it with, I always end up saying to them, look, this is the tool we have to use, whether we like it or not. These are the numbers that are down there. I agree entirely. It's the way you count the beans, basically, however you choose to do that. But I always try and end it with, does that feel comfortable for you? Because if it doesn't, then I know I'm overworking that member of staff. Now, I appreciate someone may say yes.
But sometimes you have other people saying, oh, yeah, I'll do that, and you go, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way you can work across 9 modules.
So it is about how someone feels, though. There has to be an element of that.
But also, given the conversation earlier about people are changing things to make things easier or different across the university, then the opportunity for the university to find one system to suit is not going to happen. So simplicity, I would implore, has got to be the driving force for this. Not the be-all and end-all of systems, because it can't be, but something that at least measures something. And I would suggest that's the timetabled hours.
Yeah, the teaching bit of it.
I would agree there, because but the large proportion to really step outside the current box, create a new box for ourselves. And if we don't take this opportunity, we'd be back in that box. And I'd like to pick up what Paula said, because a lot of my colleagues, whilst they're concerned with 462 and 406, they're also concerned about the peaks and troughs that they have for teaching over the 38 weeks or 42 weeks or whatever they teach. So much so that I've created a spreadsheet tool that I've emailed to Susan, whereby I said, okay, this is for you. All you need to do is to put the name of the modules in this column, and then there are weeks. And just put the total number of weeks that you teach in. Automatically, on the next tab, it pulls together a diagram. Now, once you see that, which is your teaching hours, you can then decide, right, in week 10, I'm only teaching 12 hours, I'm working 37.5 hours a week, I have another 20-something hours I can devote to whatever. Might that not be a simpler system? Yeah.
Susan.
Thank you. I can send. Susan's got.
Why can't that come out of the data that we're recording anyway?
That's right, because timetables should be able to have a software system, because they're inputting. What I'm asking staff to do is, you've put in your TTRF, and this arose because staff actually blamed me that they were too busy to mark or too busy to take on other things, and I went, well, hold on a minute, I don't think that's fair, because I didn't plan your timetable, you did.
Yeah.
I didn't plan when your assessments were to come in, you did. So what I'm going to do, despite the fact that you've just blamed me for something you did, I'm still going to help you. I'm going to create this tool whereby, but you have to take responsibilities, your work plan. You put in all your module names, and for each week you put in the number of hours you're teaching across all the modules, and automatically you see this wonderful picture. And then you can decide based on the picture when your marking 3-week turnaround should come in.
That would be so useful for planning research.
We are building it, and that timetable don't have it yet. It's just about that we know that that is something that's coming out a lot as a system requirement. So I think will be something that
it's a management system requirement.
Yes.
I think some of the assumptions that are being made are that the timetable and system is stable.
Oh, I take that. I do take that. Yes.
And that everybody does their timetable in the same way. So
yes.
just to point out that we don't actually put names to timetable at all.
Right.
So the timetable in here would not have a clue.
So that would be a kind of spanner in the works then, because you have.
It's not for us.
You have a graph, but you have no name to the graph.
Do you not get asked for it? We get harangued for filling in
We don't put names to timetable. So
Can we
I
have
no
your
idea.
timetable, please?
It would be incredibly helpful for people to identify peaks and troughs so they can actually plan their year, they can plan their work. The peaks and troughs don't necessarily, they don't necessarily help when it comes to having someone who goes off sick, short term or long term for that matter. Because very often you can have someone who's actually across the whole year, maybe 80% work planned, but at one particular time of the year might be 120, 130% work planned. So while it helps with the planning, it doesn't necessarily help with the short term firefighting. That very often, as a PL personally, I find myself having to deal with.
Which is why it's more a management system.
It's that overall, because the point
I'm
I'm
trying to make really.